thrown to the beast. The sky was dark above the arena. Black clouds moved slowly, covering the red sun. A cold wind blew across the stone ground as thousands of alien voices shouted from the high walls around the pit. Chains dragged along the floor. Ray Hart walked slowly, his hands tied, his face bruised. His body was weak, but his eyes were sharp. He didn't scream. He didn't beg. Two tall alien guards pushed him forward. Their armor was silver and sharp. One of them laughed. "Enjoy your last moments, human," the guard hissed in a rough voice. Ray looked up. He had no weapons, no armor, just a torn shirt, dried blood on his cheek, and a quiet fire in his chest. He stepped into the center of the arena. The ground beneath him was stained with old blood. On the other side, a huge metal gate shook. The sound of something breathing behind it filled the air, heavy, deep, like a giant engine. The announcer's voice echoed above. "Today the last human prisoner faces the beast of Olgron." The crowd screamed louder. They wanted blood. Ray didn't move. He stared at the gate. With a loud crash, the gate opened. Out of the darkness, the beast stepped forward. It was twice as tall as a man. Its body was covered in black, rough skin like stone. Yellow eyes glowed in the dark and long claws scraped the floor. The beast growled. The ground shook. Ray didn't run. He stood still and looked into the beast's eyes. And something happened. The beast stopped. Its growl became a quiet breath. It stared at Ray, confused. Its chest rose and fell. It took one step closer, then another, and then it stopped again. Its eyes locked with his. The arena went silent. Ray didn't move. His heart beat fast, but his face showed no fear. Then the beast took a step back. It lowered its head and it backed away. The crowd gasped. Some shouted in anger. Others were quiet, stunned. The guards looked at each other. "What's going on?" One of them whispered. The beast looked at Ray once more, then turned and walked back into the gate. Alone. Calm. Ray stood in the middle of the arena, confused. What just happened? A few seconds later, the guards rushed in. They grabbed him, pulled him away quickly, and locked the gate behind. In a cold metal room deep under the arena, 3 alien leaders watched the screen. They were tall, thin, with long necks and glowing eyes. One of them, the general, slammed his hand on the table. "This should be impossible. The beast has never backed down." Another one, a scientist, leaned forward. "There is something inside that human. Something the beast saw." The third, a quiet female, spoke softly. Or maybe something the beast remembered. Back in the prison cell, Ray sat on the floor. His mind was racing. He thought about the beast's eyes. They were full of hate when it came out. But when it saw him, something changed. It wasn't fear, it was something deeper. Recognition? Ray touched his chest. His heart was still racing. He didn't know what the beast saw in him, but he knew one thing. It was only the beginning. In the darkness of the beast's cage, the creature sat silently. Its breath slow. Its mind full. It remembered something. Long ago, before it was a weapon, before the chains, it remembered eyes like his, a voice, a name, human, and it shivered. Eyes of the monster. The cell was silent. No footsteps, no voices, just the soft hum of the ship's power lines running through the walls. Ray sat on the cold floor, arms resting on his knees. The guards had thrown him in this strange metal box after the beast incident. No window. No clock. Only walls. He hadn't slept. Not really. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same thing. The beast's eyes, not full of rage, not hunger, but fear. And something else, like it had seen a ghost. Something buried deep inside him. Something even he didn't know. Why did the beast back away? Why didn't it attack? The door opened with a loud hiss. 2 guards entered. This time they didn't grab him roughly. They didn't speak. They simply nodded. "Where now?" Ray asked, standing slowly. They didn't answer. One pressed a button on the wall, and the floor beneath Ray began to move. A platform lifted him, up slowly, like an elevator without walls. Above, white light grew brighter. The lift stopped. Ray stepped off into a clean, round chamber. The floor glowed faintly. There were machines in the walls. Screens showed strange shapes, lines, numbers, alien words he couldn't read. A tall alien waited inside. Not a soldier. A scientist. She looked at Ray carefully, like she was looking at something new, something dangerous. "My name is Dr. Elra," she said calmly. Her voice was clear but emotionless. "You will answer my questions." Ray raised an eyebrow. "Will I?" Elra didn't smile. She turned to a screen. A video played, showing Ray standing in the arena. The moment the beast stepped out. The moment it stopped. The moment it looked into his eyes and backed away. "We've tested that beast against every species in the galaxy," Elra said. "It killed them all, without hesitation, until you." Ray shrugged. "Maybe I'm just ugly." "No, you're something else, and we're going to find out what." She nodded. A second alien pressed a button. A machine unfolded from the ceiling, long arms, blinking lights and needles. Ray stepped back. "Hey, what the hell is that?" "It reads DNA," Elra said. "It won't hurt." She was lying. 3 hours later, Ray sat on a bench in a glass cell, holding his side. The test had burned, his blood had been taken, scanned, examined. Machines scanned every part of him, but they didn't tell him anything. They just stared at the screens. On the other side of the glass, Dr. Elra spoke in low tones with another figure, the Emperor's chief advisor, a cold-eyed alien with skin like cracked marble. "This human is not ordinary," Elra whispered. "There's a genetic marker we've never seen before. It's not just unique. It's old. Pre-Empire old." "How old?" the advisor asked. 10,000 years. Maybe more." The advisor looked through the glass at Ray. "Is it dangerous?" Elra paused. "I think he's not the danger, but he's connected to something that is." Later that night, while the scientists discussed and planned, Ray slept, and he dreamed. Not of Earth, not of his past, but of fire, a city in flames, giant metal ships crashing into mountains, voices calling out, and in the center of the dream, the beast. It stood beside him, not as a monster, but as a warrior, wearing armor, holding a sword. It turned to Ray and spoke without moving its lips. "You are the Echo." Ray woke up gasping, sweat on his face. The dream was too real, too clear. Echo? What did that mean? Before he could think, a sound came from the wall, a growl, soft, low, familiar. Ray turned to the small air vent in the corner of his cell. 2 glowing yellow eyes stared through the vent, watching him, the beast. It was here, watching, not to attack, to protect? Ray stood slowly, walking toward the vent. "Why are you following me?" he whispered. The beast didn't move. Then, something strange. A voice inside his head. Not loud, not angry, just a whisper. "You carry the flame." Ray froze. He wasn't going crazy. The voice was not his own. "You're in my head?" he whispered. Silence. Then, again, "They fear what you are." Ray stepped back, heart racing. The beast knew something. Something ancient. Something no one else did. Whatever was happening, it was only the beginning. The whisper of the core. The next morning, Ray Hart woke up to silence. But something had changed. The cell was empty, as always. No windows, no guards. But he could feel it in his bones. Like the air had shifted. Heavy. Still, he sat up slowly, staring at the vent. The beast was gone, but the memory of its voice still echoed in his head. "You carry the flame." What did that mean? Before Ray could think too much, the cell door opened without warning. 2 guards entered. This time, they looked nervous. One kept glancing at Ray's face. The other didn't even speak. They didn't shackle him. They didn't hit him. They just pointed down the hallway. "Where are we going?" Ray asked. No answer. He followed anyway. They led him deep into the heart of the alien complex and farther than before. The halls turned from dark gray steel to glowing white walls. Smooth, cold, clean, almost too clean. After a long walk, the door, at the end, opened. Dr. Elra stood inside waiting, but something in her face had changed. Less control, less calm, more curiosity. "Sit," she said, pointing to a strange chair surrounded by glowing rings. Ray didn't move. "What is this?" "A core scanner," she replied. "It shows us more than blood. It scans memory, trauma, soul patterns." "Soul?" Ray laughed once. "You believe in that?" Elra didn't smile. "The machine does." Ray sat slowly. As soon as he did, the rings around him began to hum. Lights spun in slow circles. A low sound like a heartbeat filled the room. Boom, boom, boom. Then the lights turned red. The machine stopped. Alarms didn't ring. No lights flashed. But every scientist in the room suddenly froze. Elra stepped back from the screen. Her face was pale. "What did it show?" asked one of the assistants. Elra didn't speak. Her hands shook as she replayed the scan. Inside the machine's display, a shadow moved through Ray's memories. Not his life, something deeper. Not personal memory, genetic memory. A battle, massive, planets burning, ships that were alive, not built, creatures made of light. A human figure stood in the center of it all, glowing with fire in his hands. He looked just like Ray, but older, stronger, and terrifying. "What is this?" the assistant whispered. Elra stared. "This isn't his memory," she said. "It's from someone else, someone who lived thousands of years ago. But the pattern is still inside him. It's been passed down, waiting to wake up." In a quiet room above the lab, the Emperor watched the same footage. He stood in silence for a long time. Then he turned to his advisor. "You said humans were weak," the Emperor said coldly. "That they were broken, lost." "They were," the advisor replied. "But something was left behind." Later that night, Ray sat alone in a new room. This one was different. Clean walls, no bars. Not a prison, but not free either. He couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, because of the voice. It came again. Whispers in his mind. Faint, distant, like a radio signal through space. "The core remembers you." "What is the core?" Ray asked, aloud. The whisper replied, "It is the fire at the center, the truth that was buried." Ray stood up. The room felt smaller. "What do you mean buried?" Silence. Then, "You were designed, not born." His breath caught. "What?" The lights flickered, and then the voice was gone. Meanwhile, in the darkest part of the alien fortress, the beast sat in its chamber, chained once again. But it didn't struggle. It was thinking, remembering, not just Ray's face, but the man from the dream, the warrior of fire, the one who had once walked among the stars and bent galaxies to his will. Ray was his echo, his return, and the galaxy wasn't ready. Back in the lab, Dr. Elra looked through old Empire files, forbidden ones, ancient records, long sealed. She found something, a mission report. Human experiment, 47, Project Echo Core. Date, 11,298 standard years ago. Result, terminated. Subject too powerful. Memory sealed. Until now. Elra closed the file. Her hands were shaking again. In a dark hallway, Ray stood before a mirror. He stared at his reflection. Same eyes, same face. But he knew something now. He was not just a soldier, not just a survivor. He was something older, something designed, something that could change everything, and someone, or something, had just reawakened it. Ancient fire. The escape was not planned. The power grid failed for exactly 4.3 seconds. Just enough time. The door of Ray's chamber unlocked. The cameras blinked off. The hallway lights went dark. When they came back on, Ray was gone. No alarms. No trace. Far below the surface of the Empire Fortress, Ray ran through a tunnel that smelled of metal, dust, and something old. Not dead, just asleep. Beside him, the beast moved in silence, no longer growling, no longer chained, just walking, heavy, watchful, loyal. Ray still didn't understand how the beast had reached him, how it broke out, or how they escaped the guards. But somehow he knew. The beast didn't follow orders anymore. It followed him. They passed deeper underground. The walls turned from polished steel to black stone, cracked, ancient. There were markings on them, not in the alien language, but in something else, something human. Ray stopped. These symbols, he whispered, brushing his fingers across a carved wall. I know them. But he had never seen them before in his life. The beast made a low sound, not a growl, almost a hum. It remembered this place too. The tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. Massive pillars rose into darkness. The ceiling was lost in shadow. At the center of the chamber stood a glowing orb, floating above a broken pedestal. Some orb pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. Ray stepped closer. As he did, the symbols on the walls began to glow faintly. Lines of red light flowed between them like veins. The orb grew brighter. A voice filled the chamber, not out loud. Inside his head, Echo recognized. Core memory unlocking. The orb cracked open like glass, and the world around Ray changed. Suddenly, he wasn't underground anymore. He stood in a city of light. Towers stretched into the sky. Giant ships flew overhead. People walked in robes of silver and gold. Some of them looked human. Others didn't. Different skin, different forms. But they moved together. A united race. One civilization. Then the sky turned dark. The ships began to fall. Explosions. Screams. Everything burned. A man stood in the center of the chaos. The same man from Ray's dreams. The same face. His voice echoed through the flames. If we fall, let them remember what we were. He reached into his chest and pulled out a spark of light, like a tiny star, and placed it into a machine. The same orb Ray had just touched. This is the last fire. Then everything turned to ash. Ray gasped. The vision ended. He was back in the chamber. The orb was gone, only dust now. The beast stood beside him, eyes watching. Ray dropped to his knees. His whole body trembled. Now he understood. He wasn't just a man. He was a message. A carrier of something ancient. Something long buried. He carried the memory of a lost humanity. A race that had once ruled not with weapons but with knowledge, unity, and something more. Hope. But it had been destroyed. By greed. By power. Or maybe by fear of its own strength. And the Empire, this alien empire, had tried to erase it all. In the darkness above, alarms began to sound. They knew he was gone now. They were coming. Ray stood slowly, his voice steady. They buried the truth down here, he said to the beast, but not deep enough. The beast gave a low growl, this time not a warning, a promise. As they moved back toward the surface, the walls behind them began to collapse. The orb had powered the ruins for centuries. Without it, the place was dying. Dust fell from the ceiling. Stones cracked, but Ray didn't look back. He had what he needed now, not a weapon, not power, but truth. And that was more dangerous than anything. Meanwhile, on the Empire's flagship orbiting above the planet, the Emperor watched the crumbling chamber on a screen. He turned to his advisors. He's found the fire, he said. One advisor trembled. What do we do? The Emperor's eyes narrowed. We remind the galaxy why it was buried. Back on the surface, Ray and the beast stood in the shadow of the fortress. Above them, the Empire was waking up. Soldiers, ships, machines. War was coming. But Ray didn't feel fear. He felt fire in his blood, and he knew this was only the beginning. The rebellion stirs. The news spread like fire across the galaxy. The beast bowed to a human. At first, it was a whisper, a rumor, a myth passed through back alleys, bar conversations, and encrypted transmissions. But then the whisper became a roar. And the roar reached places the Empire feared most, the rebellion. On the dark moon of Viran 6, deep inside an abandoned mining facility, a group of rebel commanders sat around a hologram. The image showed Ray Hart, standing in front of the beast, alive, unarmed, and untouched. A woman in battle armor leaned forward. That's not just luck, that's something else. Another rebel, older, with metal implants on his face, narrowed his eyes. It's the old story. The fire returning. Echo Core. The room went quiet. Most of them had heard the name. A myth. A failed human weapon from long ago. Designed to carry the memory of a lost age. A seed of the past planted in the future. And now it was growing again. Meanwhile, on the surface of the Empire's war planet, Ray and the beast moved through canyons and caves, hunted from all sides. They had no map, no food, no allies, but they weren't alone. A small ship landed quietly in the rocks above them. Rebel markings, camouflaged. From inside, a cloaked figure stepped out. She moved carefully, hands visible, no weapons drawn. I come in peace, she said softly. My name is Kale. I fight for the truth. Ray raised an eyebrow. Truth has a lot of enemies. Kale nodded. And now you have a lot of friends. She led them into the hidden ship. The inside was small but strong, old tech but fast. In the back was a med bay, weapons locker, and a flickering screen showing sectors of the galaxy. Kale explained everything. The rebellion isn't one army. It's broken pieces. Old humans, free-thought aliens, even former Empire soldiers. We don't agree on much, but your survival has changed that. Ray sat down, watching the stars outside the window. I didn't ask to be a symbol. Kale looked at him carefully. Symbols don't ask. They just shine. In orbit, the Empire was moving. The Emperor had sent a purifier fleet, 10 destroyers, each armed with sun bombs, meant to erase entire cities, not capture rebels, and leading the fleet was Commander Vask, the one who had trained the beast. A warlord known for one thing: no mercy. He looked at the latest report from the ground. Bring the human alive, the Emperor's order read. Vask smiled. No promises. In the rebel ship, Ray sat in silence while Kale checked the beast's wounds. It was still tired from the fight in the ruins, scarred but strong. The beast looked at Ray again and spoke, this time in clear words, deep, echoing. They will come for the fire, not for you. Ray nodded slowly. Then we make them regret it. The next morning, Kale's ship flew low over the desert. In the distance, a rebel outpost waited, hidden in the bones of a crashed starship. Ray walked in with the beast beside him. Every eye turned toward them. Some whispered, some stared in awe, and some stepped back in fear. Kale raised her voice. This is Ray Hart. He is not a god, not a savior, but he carries the truth they buried, the fire they feared. She looked at Ray. Show them. Ray stepped forward. He touched the old rebel comm tower, broken for years. A pulse of light ran from his fingers through the machine, and it came alive. The outpost gasped, ancient tech waking at his touch. Not magic. Memory. The machine remembered him, or the one who came before him. Far away in a hidden Empire lab, Dr. Elra watched this through a hacked feed. She turned to her assistant. "Do you see what this means?" The assistant nodded slowly. "He's not the weapon." "No," Elra whispered. "He's the key." Back at the rebel outpost, Ray sat by a small fire staring into the flames. The beast lay beside him watching the stars. Kale approached. "What now?" she asked. Ray didn't answer for a long time. Then finally he said, "They wanted a monster. They created memory, and now—" He looked at her. "I'll give the galaxy both. The soul weapon, it began with light. Blinding white light." Ray opened his eyes and saw nothing but brightness. Cold air, metal under his back, restraints on his arms and legs. He was strapped to a table, alone. No sounds, no beast, no Kale, just silence. Then came the voice. Flat, unfeeling, machine-like. Subject secured. "Begin phase 1. Ray struggled, but the restraints didn't move. A soft hum filled the room. A ring of lights appeared above him, slowly spinning. They glowed brighter with each turn. His heart began to race. Then the pain started, not sharp, not burning. Deep, emotional. Memory pain. The machine wasn't cutting his body. It was cutting, through his soul, digging into the core of who he was, who he used to be, and what had been hidden inside him for thousands of years. Far above, on the Empire's command ship, the Emperor watched the screen in silence. Dr. Elra stood beside him. "Is this safe?" she asked quietly. The Emperor did not answer. On the screen, the machine dove into Ray's mind. Images flickered. Moments. Feelings. Flashbacks. But not just of Ray's life. Of others. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Different faces. Different lives. Soldiers. Children. Kings. Rebels. All of them human. All of them screaming. Ray's breath caught. He saw a child hiding during a bombing, a father losing his daughter to war, a pilot flying into a sun to stop a weapon, a mother holding a dead baby, whispering lullabies. Pain, love, fury, grief, all inside him. He was not one man anymore. He was all of them. Suddenly, the machine began to spark. The lights flickered. The table shook. The scientists in the room backed away. "This can't be right," one shouted. "It's reading full-spectrum emotion too much, and the system wasn't designed for this." Dr. Elra leaned forward, staring at the data. "The soul is not code," she said. The Emperor whispered, "What have we done?" Inside Ray's mind, the memories were no longer flashes. They became voices, faces, entire people. "You carry us. You are the echo. Don't let them erase us again," Ray screamed, but it wasn't fear. It was release. A surge of energy burst from his chest. The machine exploded. The room went dark. Glass shattered. Alarms blared. Sparks flew from the walls. Ray sat up, breaking the last of the restraints. His body glowed faintly. Gold veins ran under his skin. His eyes burned with light. The guards aimed their weapons. He didn't run. He just looked at them. And they backed away. Like the beast had. Dr. Elra ran into the room, staring in disbelief. Ray looked at her. "You wanted the weapon," he said, voice like thunder. "Here it is." The metal floor cracked beneath him as he walked forward. But he didn't attack. He didn't destroy. He just left, and no one stopped him. In the hangar, the beast waited, still chained, still silent. As Ray entered, the chains fell away. The beast bowed its head and spoke once more. "You have become," Ray nodded. "Now it's their turn to remember." Far away, Kyle received the message. He's free. She turned to her team. "Get the fleet ready. We move now." "What if it's too late?" someone asked. Kyle smiled. "It's not." And in the Empire's darkest chamber, the Emperor stood alone. He watched the last image of Ray glowing like a star, and he whispered, almost in awe, "He is not a soldier. He is the storm. The beast turned away, but others will not. The sky was burning. From the edge of the galaxy, the rebellion moved like a storm. Fighters, freighters, old ships rebuilt by broken hands, carrying people who had been silent too long. Now they screamed together. For the fire. For the truth. For the lost. In the center of it all stood one ship, black and gold forged from forgotten tech. Its engines didn't roar. They sang. Inside, Ray Hart stood still, eyes closed. The fire within him no longer burned in anger. It burned in purpose. The beast stood beside him, armor now fitted to its massive body. The chains were gone. It didn't wear the past anymore. Only loyalty. Only belief. Kale entered the command chamber. "It's time," she said. Ray opened his eyes. Then, let them see. Above the empire world of Zorath Prime, the fleet waited. A wall of metal, dozens of warships, weapons that could break moons. At the center, the Emperor's ship hovered like a shadow. On the bridge, he stood watching the rebel fleet approach. "They bring fire," his advisor said. The Emperor replied, cold and quiet, "We will drown it." The two sides faced each other in space. No one spoke. Then Ray's voice came through every channel. Calm. Strong. This war was never about power. It was about memory. You tried to erase us. You failed. He paused. You feared the beast? Because it remembered. But now the galaxy does too. He ended with one line. We are not echoes anymore. We are the fire. The battle began. Ships clashed. Lights tore through the stars. Explosions shook planets. But something was different. The rebels didn't break. They moved together, as if guided by one heartbeat. Ray was no longer just a man, he was a symbol. A signal, and the signal was loud. In the center of chaos, Ray's ship flew straight toward the Emperor's flagship. Lasers missed him. Torpedoes misfired. Weapons refused to fire at him. Old tech recognizing something older inside him. Something real, something true. He landed on the enemy ship, alone. The beast followed, stepping into fire like it was home. Together, they walked through the hallways. Empire soldiers dropped their weapons. Some knelt. Some simply stared and let them pass. At the throne chamber, the Emperor waited. He did not wear a crown. He wore fear. Why didn't I kill you when I had the chance? He asked. Ray stepped forward. Because deep down, even you wanted to believe it. The Emperor laughed. Believe what? Ray pointed at the walls, at the ancient human markings hidden beneath layers of paint. That we were more than war, that we could rise again. The Emperor drew his blade, glowing red, pulsing with stolen energy. Then show me. The fight was fast. The beast roared, attacking with fury and grace. The Emperor was strong, faster than any man his age should be. But Ray didn't fight with hate. He fought with every memory inside him. The child hiding in rubble. The pilot who died to save a moon. The mother who sang in the dark. The warrior who whispered, "Remember us." Ray struck the final blow. The Emperor fell, and the throne room fell silent. The beast was wounded. Its body shook. It looked at Ray, and for the first time smiled. It was an honor. Then it fell. Later on the surface of Zorath Prime, Ray stood before a crowd. Aliens, humans, all species together. He didn't raise a weapon. He raised a hand and spoke. We were shadows. Now we are light. We were forgotten. Now we are remembered. This is not victory. This is beginning. That day became history. Some called him a weapon. Others called him a god. But those who knew the truth called him Ray, a man, a flame, and the final echo of a world that once dared to dream. The end.